But if you're distracted, hung up, and not fully present and available, you are not totally relaxed. You're not totally relaxed. You lose speed. So a simple definition, if you will, about mind like water, and see if you can translate this into your professional world or just into your world. Perfectly appropriate response to and engagement with whatever's present. But let me ask you, and you don't need to raise your hand, just internally answer this question. Have you ever taken one meeting to the next? You ever taken home to work, work to home? It's probably because you then are not fully available to that new thing with your full resources. There's some part of you that's, you know, if I could see psychically, I can't, but if I could, most people would look like Pigpen. You know, the cartoon character with this cloud of stuff spinning around them. You know, that's been going on that is potentially clouding their ability to see, their ability to respond to the next thing, new thing, appropriately, with all their resources at hand. And I will suggest that your ability to generate power, whatever that means to you, but essentially your ability to be effective in any way, shape, or form has an awful lot to do with your ability to concentrate. It's just physics. You concentrate electricity, it gets more powerful. You concentrate. So there's a sense of concentration. However, your ability to concentrate is directly proportional to your ability to eliminate distraction. Any of you ever been distracted, by the way? Yeah. What did that do to your productivity, by the way? Now, who distracts you more than anybody? Oh, come on. You ever been in a room? Yeah, they're going, he, her. Oh, come on. Any of you ever been in a room by yourself and got distracted? Who did that? Who did that? What? Who turned on solitaire to this computer? Who did that? Got to finish. Right. However, where do your distractions come from? Sure, a loud noise could distract you, but I guarantee you if you were trying to save a baby under a car, you wouldn't hear that noise. What is it that distracts you? Well, from my experience, this may not be the totality of it, but the vast majority of distraction seems to come from mismanaged commitments. Mismanaged commitments. By the way, I'm just curious, how many of you, since you've been sitting here this morning, have had your mind go somewhere that had nothing to do with what was going on in here? Raise your hand. Now, if where you went in your mind was just grazing out of fun, I'm just looking around, imagining that, imagine that cool. Or if where you went was doing creative developmental thinking down track your brain has never been before that was maturing your thought process and adding value to life and work, I go, wow, that's a cool place for your mind to go. Don't pay any attention to me, stay there. How many of you would say, though, that where your mind went was something you need to do, you need to handle, you need to fix, take care of, see about, do something with? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Why did that pop into your head? By the way, did any of you make significant progress on it while you were sitting here? Could be. Possible. What did most of you do? Oh, you worried. Well, how effective of you. What a high performer. Let's go there. Waste time. Make no progress whatsoever. Just add a few more toxins into your bloodstream from the stress room that probably threw you into. You go there in your head. The partner says, I should be out there doing that. Another part of you says, but I'm stuck in here with this jerk. I hope he's good. Conflict, inner conflict, unresolved, still there. Where most of you didn't go in your mind was, where am I going to be a week from Friday at 3:15? Why? Because you trust that system. And the only reason the other stuff popped in is because you don't trust that system. The problem is, you gave that system, all of that other stuff, your mind the job of managing all of that. And it's a fabulous servant. But it's about 7 years old emotionally. Don't forget, we gotta, and we need, oh my God. And it wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, beating you bloody about something you can't do spit about while you're lying there. Have any of you have to discover your mind doesn't have one? If your brain had a brain, it would only remind you of things when you could do something about them. Oh, come on, let's check this one out. Honestly, how many of you somewhere out there in life, somewhere, have got at least one flashlight right now with dead batteries in it? Raise your hand. Tell me where and when your mind tends to remind you need batteries. When it's dark. This is not smart. If your brain had any innate intelligence whatsoever, it would not bother you about batteries at dead ones. Where would it bother you about batteries? When you pass the right size live ones, and hey, David, you need 2 AA's. They're on the shelf. Whoa, thank you very much. Look, if my mind had a mind, I don't need a system. How many of you woke up, since you woke up this morning until now, have thought of something you needed to do you still have not done? Raise your hand. How many have had that thought more than once? Excuse me. Aren't you folks busy? What makes you think you have the luxury to sit there having thoughts about things and make absolutely no progress on it? I'm sorry, folks. Once you're introduced to GTD, no excuse to ever have a thought twice. Unless you like the thought. But guess what, folks? Your mind does a crappy job, but it can't give it up until it absolutely knows there's a better system. And you can fool me. You can't fool yourself. It absolutely knows whether you're going to look at the right place and that you have the right stuff in the place you'll look. And if it doesn't trust that's true, it's still got it. Can't let it go. Cannot let it go. The problem is your mind, that part of your mind that's hanging on to this stuff. It's that place we call psychic RAM. You know, it's that short-term memory spot, which the study in 1959 showed how much you could hold, data you could hold in there and still function with that appropriately. About 7 things, plus or minus 2. If you're really good, you can handle 9. But as soon as you try to keep track of a 10th one, something just got screwed. It doesn't do that very well. So the point is, it can't let go of the job, and it's still now trying to do all that, and it can't let it go. It can't, and it has no sense of past or future in there. That's the weird part of it. If you really catch that, that means as soon as you give you two things to do that you can't finish when you think of them, and you're using your brain for your system, you created instant failure and stress because you can't do them both at the same time, or there's a part of you psychologically that's trying to. Now, this is a working hypothesis. I just would challenge you to go prove this right or wrong yourself to see if that works. And what happens is there's usually an inverse proportion between the amount something is on your mind and the amount it's getting done. So you can pretty much bet that if something's bugging you, it's hung up, and you're the bottleneck. Because the reason it's going to be bugging you is usually because there's decisions about what that thing specifically means to you and what you need to do about it that you haven't made yet. Or even if you've made those decisions, you haven't parked the answers to that question in some trusted place you think you'll look at the right time and place. Because those are the critical things to do to get it off your mind. By the way, you don't have to like your life to get it off your mind. You don't have to like where you're going to be a week from Friday at 3:15 to get that off your mind. You folks understand? The only reason it's on your mind is because it's trying to be your system. It just doesn't do it very well. And the strange thing about this is if you don't, it's actually not strange, it's actually pretty common sense when you think about it. If you don't give appropriate attention to what has your attention, it'll start to take more of your attention than it deserves. So you better start to pay attention to where your mind is going. There's a message inside of that. And if you're not dealing with it, it keeps going there, and it keeps adding fuel to the fire in terms of stress. If you don't handle that. That's one of the reasons that the old models haven't worked, is because they didn't start with that reality. They tried to start with some reality that didn't map to what was really going on inside of your psyche. And that's where I started. Now, if you really want to get things off your mind, and by the way, it is possible to be buried and have nothing on your mind. Well, I'm modeling that for you. Maybe that's evident. There isn't much going on up here. Well, this is going on, not that. Could it be? Yeah, I'm buried, got tons of stuff. Important, big things. I mean, you're lovely folks, but you're still one small operational detail in my life. I'm an extra in your play, too. But you wouldn't want my mind going where yours are in here. So, in order to get things off your mind, you don't do it by stacking it up, meditating about it, or drinking about it. I mean, those have other purposes. But if you really want to clear your head, you need to make sure you have captured, clarified, and organized all of your commitments at every horizon you've made those commitments. And you also have to trust that you will engage consciously with those commitments at the appropriate time and place. That simple. You want nothing on your mind? Make sure you've grabbed it, decided what it means, organize the results of that decision into a trusted place you know, absolutely know you'll see at the right time. Then your mind can let it go, and not until then. But it's possible to do. You've all done it with your calendars. And from my experience, your ability to refocus rapidly on the right things at the right horizon at the right time is the master key, the master technique of knowledge work athletics. As you get more sophisticated and take on more ambiguous, strange, and more plates spinning in the air, your ability to know, 3:15, what's the thing I need to focus on at what level right now? And to be able to shift that in an absolute moment's notice and have ability to manage that game, I think is the master key here. And since perspective is your slipperiest and it's the most valuable commodity you have, your life could be just in the worst dire straits by anybody else looking in, and you can still be on with the appropriate perspective. And your life can look fabulous, and you want to take your life if you have inappropriate perspective. So your point of view, your viewing point, your attitude, your altitude, those things are just so critical in terms of you being on. So anything that can help, anything that helps do that is going to help. Any of you ever lose perspective out there, by the way? Yeah, so anything that can get you back on. Wait a minute, now what happened and where am I? And we all do this. You wouldn't be sitting here if you didn't. Again, I'm just going to make it more conscious. Therefore, the two things that seem to be the most critical to manage are we need control, which means we consciously need to be able to feel like we're engaged in some intentional way and aware of all the options that that engagement could include. A good example is before you go on a vacation. You know when most people feel best about their job, from my experience? Well, not here, because you folks feel great about your job all the time. I know. I just walked around. It looks fabulous. This is the place to work, right? But from my experience in all those other companies, when most people feel best about their job, a week before their holiday. But it's not about their holiday. They think it is. What are you folks doing a week before you go on holiday? Cleaning up, clarifying, grabbing, organizing, and then renegotiating all your agreements with yourself and everybody else. I just suggest you do it weekly, not yearly. But everybody's got a reference point about what it's like to get that kind of control. Okay, they're going to feed the cats, and the sprinkler system's going to go, and then then the clients go. There's probably 3 calls, but I've got my people set up that can handle all that. Okay, that's what I mean by sort of get the whole environment, all the different aspects of it. That's a control piece. Perspective says, should you be taking the vacation? Or what are you using the vacation for? And that means that I'm clear about priorities and directionality. In other words, there's some vertical alignment in terms of what I'm doing. These are two actually very different events. Most people have tried to blend them together. That's why it didn't work too well. You can look at it this way. I mean, my old consulting days, obviously there's a 2x2 matrix sitting in my DNA. So let's matrix control and perspective, okay? They're actually different dynamics. On the bottom left quadrant, no control, no perspective. Who or what's that? Well, that's basically in reactive mode, driven by latest and loudest. Right? Any of you ever find yourself there? If you're not there at least 6 times a day, you're stale. Oh, come on. Any of you ever leave a big meeting that just generated 14 billion cool, wicked, cool, and fabulous things to do, and just blew the hell out of how you're going to spend the rest of your day? That's what I'm talking about. Now I go back, whoa. I've got to now regroup. But it's out of, okay, now I'm in reactive mode right now. I need to move some other direction. Now, bottom right, high control, no perspective.